we're walking with God, we have these expectations, and everything that we shaped, and everything's okay for a time being. But then life happens, or even death happens. Something your dream could have died, something you had faith in could have died, and something you built your life on could have died. And then it's time, then you get confused about, God, where are you? God, who are you? God, what's going on? And it's in that time you go through a healing process, but after that healing process, it's time to refocus, re-understand God, if you will. Kind of define God to another degree. As you walk with God for years and years and years, you're going to find that there'll be more times that you're going to have a greater understanding or even a different understanding of who God is. Again, we talked about Brother Moses when he was on the mountain. He was with God for quite some time before he wanted to see the glory of God, before he wanted to see who God was. And in Exodus chapter 33 and Exodus chapter 34, we went through that. And what happened is he wanted to see God. He spoke to God mouth to mouth. God even said that I speak to Moses mouth to mouth. He spoke to God mouth to mouth. He was with God 40 days, 40 nights. But he never saw God. And it's at this point in time that Moses walked, he said, it's not enough for me. I want to see you, God. And then we know the story. The Lord said, no man can see my face and live. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on the cliff of the rock. And I'm going to put my hand over you as I cover you, and I'm going to declare my name unto you. And then he had another understanding of God. Exodus chapter 34, verse 5. Again, this is where the Lord had took Moses up into a mountain and put his face between two rocks. So you can only see so much. And as the Lord God was passing by, he said, I'll put my hand over you, and you can see my backside, but no man shall see my face and live. And so, pick up on verse 5, it says, and the Lord descended in the cloud, and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And the Lord passed by before him to proclaim, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgressions and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the children's children, unto the third and fourth generation. And so what we see here is because Moses was, although he had known the Lord, he had known the Lord's laws. As a matter of fact, he had the tablets of the Lord's laws. He had spoke to the Lord mouth to mouth, not face to face, but mouth to mouth. Yet God was revealing another aspect of his character. See, it doesn't matter how long you've been with God. There's still more about God you can find out. There's still more about his character you can find out. It's still more to God than you know. That's my point here. But again, when the Lord revealed himself, he said, I'm gracious, I'm merciful, but at the same time, I by no means clear the guilty. So how does that, we talked about how that doesn't contradict last time. We talked about how God will deal with sin. That's another aspect of his character. Yes, he's long-suffering. Yes, he's merciful, but he by no means clear the guilty. You can't separate the two. And I think that nowadays people are trying to separate the two. Saying, gotta forgive, but you don't have to live now. There's been times, my wife and I, I didn't think I was going to go here, but we'll talk about it. My wife and I, we found out some things about God, even in that. We were believing for something. We were believing God would heal somebody. He will raise them up. We prayed, we believed, and everything. We had our faith out there. And then God said no. And the person passed away. And at that time, we were confused because we did everything we ought to do. We prayed, we believed, we would see we would see God's hand. We prayed for months, and God still said no. We found out then that God can still say no. It's an aspect of his character. We don't manipulate God. We ask God, and then he either grants it or he won't. But God is sovereign. That's what we found out about God. And I say that to say that you might find yourself in a situation where things have went wrong or went south, although you put faith on it, although you built your life upon this situation, and still there was a death. Now, who is God in that situation? Who is he? Because he's no longer what you thought he'd be. That genie in a bottle you can manipulate. That genie in the bottle gives you everything you want. He still has the ability to say no. God is still God. And so now we have to reestablish or refocus our understanding of God based upon our experiences now. Now we see another aspect of his character. He's still God. Even though it hurts, he's still God. Although everything didn't go right, he's still God. So now I have to change my mind. And it takes a season of healing first. I don't want to get there to just believe that I don't want to get the misunderstanding that you just jump to the next understanding of God. No, there's a season of healing you got to go through. But when you're ready to walk on, you refocus. Now you understand him to a different degree. You keep on going with that new understanding of God. Not that he's a harsh God, he's not. But he's still sovereign. He's still God. It's easy, again, to lose. I mean, even when you start, there may be things that go wrong in your life, there may be things that go right in your life. Nonetheless, it's easy to lose focus. And we're bombarded with all these distractions. Even in ministry, as you go forward, Moses was in ministry. He was ministering to the people of God. But somehow, the world can be so bombarded, you can miss God even working in the ministry because you get so distracted. It's important in our walk, it's important in our lives to take the time to refocus and figure out what this thing is about. Figure out what this whole thing is about. Because it slips from you. It'll slip from you. Before you know it, you'll be operating out of culture. You'll be operating out of tradition, operating out of experiences instead of operating out of relationship with God. Don't let that part dry up. It's important to take that time back, that sabbatical from life, and focus on the things of God. Just focus on God and God alone. That's why prayer is important. That's why that time alone with God is important. To draw back, get to a place where you can clear your mind and remember what this thing is about. Even doing ministry, sometimes, we talk a lot about the church, but the church is pervasive because the church is real. You start out in ministry. You start out wanting to do the things of God because the things of God are necessary. But then somehow the culture of the church and the church takes over. And before you know it, you're just operating in church as opposed to ministry. That's why it's very important, even for the ministers, even for the people of God, to take that time back. Figure out what this thing is about. Stay in your prayer closet. Because if not, God will be over there and you'll be over here somewhere. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is familiar chapter. But we're going to read a little bit of it today. He says, though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I have become sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I can remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. And though when he says charity, put the word love there. Because he's talking about love. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffers long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth, beareth all things, hopeth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things, charity never faileth. And so what Paul was given the understanding of is though he could be working in the ministry, though he could be doing everything right, giving his body, giving everything he has to feed the poor, and though he even be gifted with the spiritual gifts of speaking in tongues and prophesying and all these things, but because he draws back, he's not inwardly motivated. He's just doing it because it's a good thing to do. It profits him nothing. See, this is what you get out of your prayer closet when you draw back. You get re-energized, refilled with the motivation to go out and do. With the motivation to do it for God. It's easy to get fall into the traditions of doing it because it's the right thing to do, but you lose that motivation and it profits you nothing.
Thanks for watching.